Yeah, it's a bit hard for them to pick a mid because they don't know the matchup. They will go into the Lina, which I guess you could always pick blind without knowing the matchup because we haven't really seen a Lina lose mid at all. So it's just dominant in the mid lane. Even the Quap matchup doesn't really hurt Lina too much. Even a Puck doesn't hurt it too much. Even a Leshrac doesn't hurt it too much. You're kind of fine with the Lina pick, and I love this from YG because they have a big win condition mid now. Like, we talk about Young PH being the star player, you know, this up-and-coming player from Myanmar. The Lina will allow him to shine. Just build up, be big, get the travels, get the BKB, get the Silver Edge, and just become this monster from a mile away. On top of that, Mike, not something you and I, man, should talk about, because I think you had a real-life issues to deal with. But while you were gone, we've managed to find the answer in drafting. It's circles. The answer is circles, Mike. And you know what? YG has so many circles.
Wait.
Storm,
Who's
Arena, Kinetic Field. Who was it?
Who have you been casting with JohnXfire?
Mr. Gods. Mr. Gods himself, Mr. Parker.
I thought you were happy to have me back, but apparently you and Parker have been drawing circles together. Is that right?
Yes, we've just been drawing circles, Mike, and we found from the games that I wish I was casting with you that more circles wins games, and they have a lot of circles in YG, let me tell you. They've got the Arena, Static Storm, Kinetic Field. They've got a Stolen Ravage. That could be a circle they have. They could steal Dream Coil. They've got LSA, which is a tiny circle nonetheless. And well, to be fair, you know, you look at Orca's draft as well. Their team fights also pretty good. Kisses from a mile away, Ravage, Dream Coil combination, Puck down mid for Citrus here up against Lina. As we just talked about, Lina's a hard hero to bully out. I don't think the Puck has its job really cut out there. You have a lot of dodge against that LSA, but the wave clearing from Lina is still a lot stronger. The only thing the Puck has is mobility, so you will want to ensure that you get the runes every single time. And I think for Orca, they have supports that can rotate pretty well mid to ensure that happens every single time. So you've got to see that kind of pacing coming out here from Orca to ensure Young PH on Lina won't go off to an overwhelming start.
And while we're at it, John, my apologies to our boss, Mr. Gods. I apologize that you had to cast with John and hear about his circles and his quote-unquote analysis that he likes to provide us, that we pay him the big bucks for. Apologies, Mr. Gods. Hopefully I won't have to deal with any real-life issues again and save him the pain of having to deal with JohnXfire. I was watching, by the way, Jonathan. I'll have you know. I mean, it was 240p streams. It was mobile data. I had no internet at the time. A tree decided to collapse on my internet pole, right? I was watching, though, Jonathan. I got to say, you looked rather happy casting with Parker.
I've got to have the smile on for broadcast, Mike. Even though I'm missing you, you know, the show goes on. I'm sure you understand. Like, I'm smiling now, but that doesn't mean I'm that happy. The Void does come out for YG, though. So they've got this combination now, Mike. They've got Static Storm Chrono. They've got Lina that can stand outside. Arena could be set up for a Chrono, but that doesn't really synergize all too well. But you have a lot to play with a Void here. And for Orca, they don't have the best hold for Faceless Void. They don't have anything that really deals with Chrono. Counterpoint to it is Tidehunter, right? So we have seen this before where Void is versus Tide, right? And sometimes it's just a matter of, do you catch Tide? If you don't, do you have BKB? If you don't, Ravage will stop you.
Right.
So I think that's what Orca has to be very disciplined about, spacing out just enough to ensure either the Ravage or the Dream Coil can kind of break that Chronosphere and buy you some time to get what you need. Orca does have the opportunity, yeah?
I'm going to apologize, Jonathan. I need to interrupt because I think we could see a Pos 1 Ricky fly out. Even though it hasn't performed well today, could you not see a Pos 1 Ricky here for Orca? I don't remember VT Faded playing it per se, but into the Mars, pretty good. Against the Void, pretty good. I'd say into the Lina, pretty good. I don't know. It might be a Pos 1 Ricky game.
It does look good. I think the lane matchup's not too bad against Mars Rubik as well, because your backstab works really well against Mars online. They go with a Luna instead, which is another VT Faded special. It does work out. You can outfarm the Faceless Void. We have seen this kind of matchup before, and if the Luna does fall behind, it does feel pretty bad. You don't want the Void to have a gold advantage at all. It shouldn't have an advantage, so I think that's key for Orca. Really focusing on enabling VT Faded. He is the win condition here, and kind of just shut down Kish as much as possible. Now, we talked about the Void having great combinations in the lane. Up against Tide Snap, didn't we really just see this a while ago? Like, I think AG actually did play against Tide Snap with Void on the enemy team, and that was the issue. Like the Void did still manage to get farm, so I want to see the pressure applied here from Yif and GY to ensure that Kish will not be able to keep up pace with Luna. If you can get that done, you ride your mid-game momentum and go well, but you don't want this game to drag long. Late game against Void is a nightmare. Late game against Alina is a nightmare. And for Orca, their best scaling hero really is just that Luna. So I think for Orca, they've got to hit that early spike. Play as they did in game 1. Just play fast, shut down Kish, and try to go from there.
Absolutely. Should be getting to game 2 very, very soon. I guess I'll ask you, I mean, I know you've already talked about it quite a lot, Jonathan. Give us your final prediction. Are we going to a game 3, or has Orca got this 2-0?
It's hard to call. I think this draft is a lot closer than game 1.
Yeah.
I would have more confidence in Orca just because I just do not enjoy Faces Void right now. I think the hero is just way too hit and miss, and if it misses in a big way. Like, once Kish falls behind in farm, closing that gap in net worth up against Aluna is hard, and you're sharing that farm with Alina. So a lot has to go right for YG in the early game, and I still think Orca's just going to be able to play around that and punish early on. Like, look at Yif. We talked about this from draft. He's got the Blightstone start. So he's already correcting one issue from the last time we saw this duo. He's ready to go. He's ready to just pin down that Void, get a good trade going, and just get the damage off. What is happening?
I'm getting scared again. These guys are going to start talking about things they shouldn't be talking about in a public game. I do love the "Do you love me" lines, by the way, John. I know I've already told you many times, but a big fan of those. By the way, for anyone in the NFT community, don't worry about Jonathan. I still love you. You know, John might disagree, but you know, I'm still with you guys, even though I don't own one myself. But I might soon, John. I might soon, just for the memes.
Oh,
just for the memes, John.
All right, Mike. I'm sorry. Please let me know when, so I can move on with my life.
You'll come back when you see my millions, Jonathan. All the millions I've made.
Oh, I see it. You know, I see Gary's. You know.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I love Gary. I'm okay with keeping that part of him away from him. You know, it's like that's separate people to me, Mike. Separate people.
Bot lane, there might be a bit of an engagement as Menu ping. Nah, he's going to be just fine. Taking quite a bit of damage, but is going to make it out. Still, is that 3 bounty runes, the way of YG? I thought I almost saw 4 bounty runes to go the way of YG, but it was 3. So a nice start here for Yangon Galacticos. It's like Kish was able to swipe one away from that top rune spot. So a nice little start. We'll talk about the top lane while we're here, Jonathan. GY and Yif are going to be there against, of course, Zorain and Kish here on the Void. You kind of talked about it already, but it does sound like you do expect this lane to be rather difficult for YG. And I mean, against the Tide Snapfire, it's never really going to be an easy time here for the Void.
No, there's a lot of pressure on Zorain to just keep getting good uses of the Thunder Strike, pop his mangoes early on to cut off Yif, to cut off GY while you're very vulnerable. This will cost a lot in regen. It's already kind of set up, just bringing more mangoes, bringing a salve in just in case. I think the early levels here is what's painful for Ragdoll. GY does go for Anchor Smash instead of Gush, not looking for the kill opportunity, and that should lead to something more manageable for Kish. It's still a melee here up against Tide, so it doesn't feel great. And I think as long as Yif is copying these Thunder Strikes, you're kind of okay with that, because your Tide could still farm and maintain presence.
Alright, Jonathan, I think you can have a glass of water, sir. So mid lane, Young PH going to be against Citrus here, so the Puck first lane matchup does feel like a fairly even matchup. So I think you could still give the advantage over to the laner, as you do in most matchups. I think the Puck, though, a bit harder to kill off. I mean, landing that Light Strike Ray is always going to be rather difficult on the Puck. Still, Young PH doing a decent job of landing those Dragon Slaves, but as you can see, the LSA going to take a bit more work here for Young PH to land.
Yeah, it certainly does. I think the Lina doesn't need to land the spells necessarily. What you do have better is with Wave Clear and your right-click trade. You cast a couple of spells, get Fiery Soul up, it's going to be easier for you to get more projectiles onto the way of the Puck. And the Puck does have to rely on the phase shift mainly to dodge that out. So every single time you see that used, you know there's going to be an opportunity to pin him down. Again, this lane boils down to rune control. Like, Citrus is going to want to use that orb, get the rune every single time. Maybe even drag in the supports to ensure Young PH doesn't get the top up. Not the 2-minute mark, 4, 6-minute mark is much more important. and that's where the tone's really set. You're not too far behind here on Citrus, but this is definitely a much better showing for Young PH in comparison to Game 1.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, down at the bot lane, you've got AT there along with Skill Lane against VT Faded and Menu Pink. Everything pretty calm at this lane. Like, T's having a decent enough time on the Mars, but Menu Pink is trying to zone them out now. Problem is, he has been speared up here by Skill Lane, but they're going to turn right back onto T and just try to man-fight him. Menu Pink's actually a pretty tanky boy on that Ogre, but he is going to give first blood the way of Yangon Galacticos as VT Faded. He'll keep trying to chase, but the salve is there, and now the turnaround. A great spear out from AT. They will at least cancel the salve away, but he's lost so much here, VT Faded. There is a Fade Bolt with stick charges, but Skill Lane does not have faith it would be enough. The salve will be there for VT Faded to be able to reset. But a nice set of events happening here for YG as Skill Lane even cancels the salve as it's halfway through the Luna. But it may cost him his own life as Menu Pink's going to try and go for the chase down. AT is still there to try and help out, but doesn't quite have enough mana for a spear. It won't really matter too much though as Skill Lane does get himself out.
And this is great pressure coming out from YG. They're keeping that Luna pinned down. VT Faded having a bit of a slower start in comparison to Kish. And we talked about this. The Luna does need an item advantage. It does need to farm faster than the Void, who isn't supposed to be farming faster than Luna. You just don't have the spell kit to farm as fast as Luna without the itemization. So I think your Orca is going to have to find a way to slow this lane down a bit, prevent the aggression from coming through from AT. Menu Ping is putting his body forward. It's just the damage output, the control coming out with the lift, with Spear, with the God's Rebuke, it does rip through an Ogre Magi, and it looks like YG are ready to just keep pouring resources in. They don't mind burning regen, they don't mind dragging in multiple salves as long as it allows them to slow down the Luna. That's all they really want in this lane.
Doing a good job of it. I mean, Menu Ping's had to commit another salve now to VT Faded. Ain't gonna be cancelled on the tail end there by Skill Lane. Having a fantastic time so far as Menu Ping just can't really apply any pressure on this Ogre. Just getting punished every time, but top lane Zorain is going to go down a GY, so there is a bit of a support kill across the map. I suppose things aren't really too much easier for Kish either. He has been struggling just a little bit against GY and Yif, and while he isn't dying, his farm isn't anything to write home about.
Yeah, it's just a slow time for the pause once in general. I think this does end up being a little bit better for Luna, because at the least the Void's having just as slow of a time, and when it comes down to the jungle, the Luna will kind of win out. But the big factor for YG isn't really the Void anyway. It's Young PH on the Lina. He's the win condition. He's going to scale. In his matchup, he's managed to pull very far ahead of Citrus on the puck. Way ahead in the CS, clearing out the side camps a lot faster. The control isn't just... It's just not coming out from Orca the way you'd expect here. And I think Young PH is going to be setting that tempo, going for the travels first, as you tend to see on the Lina. Then after that, the Void will basically be set up for the Lina anyway. You know, used Chrono to ensure Lina can get the hits off, have the LSA come on as the Chronosphere is fading, clean up from there. I think that's what YG will look to do. In fact, Mike, we were talking about circles a while ago. We forgot to mention the Faceless Void as another circle as well in this draft. So that's one factor there for YG.
No, you forgot to mention, John, because I'm not interested in your damn circles. YG, I'll go for a spear up on Menu Pink.
Dire's courier has been killed.
Very quiet down in the spot lane. Going back to your point though, Young PH on the Lina, he's having a real nice time, and I believe every time we see Young PH play on this Lina, he does tend to feel very, very comfortable. So it just appears to be one of his signature heroes, if you will. I mean, mind you, it's very hard to lose lane with Lina, but he does seem to be exceptionally comfortable on it.
Yeah, it's one of his best heroes, along with his Ember, I believe. Those are the two ones where we see him deliver every single time, and it's something that Orca has to be ready to, again, counteract in terms of momentum. They are starting to scout out that jungle, checking for stacks, sniping away a rune as well, but nah, Skilly's too fast with the lift, so they still managed to get that gold flowing, at least maybe denying a bottle top up here for Young PH. I think overall, if you're YG right now, you're very happy with how the lanes are going out, simply because everything else feels a little bit even, but Young PH is getting a lot more. Now, I say that, you are starting to see VT Faded pull away in comparison to Kish. You are seeing GY pull massively ahead on this tide, so there are some early timings that are going to be enabled by that. We might see a very fast blink out from GY, or at least maybe one durability item And once that Tide's ready to frontline, it simplifies matters a lot more. And sure, right now you have managed to shove VT Faded into the jungle. He's got Bloodlust from his Ogre Magi, so he can clear out the jungle a lot earlier than you'd expect and just kind of play it safe. He's not getting laning farm, but he's not being denied out in the jungle either.
Oh, absolutely. We've seen this over and over again with this Lunar Ogre. BT Faded, he'll have a very, very good time in about 5 minutes, I'm sure. He even gets the Possessed Mask. Well, of course he does. It's a bit of life still, just in case he needed it, which he did. BT Faded, he'll be fine now to just really remain in the jungle. So 1-to-1 still remains, both sides being very quiet, though I suppose it was to be expected with these drafts that they both tend to come online in that mid-game, so just trying to get those initial items up before they get too hot. There is a little bit of pressure being applied mid-tier 1 from young PH, but pretty standard with the Lena. Again, nothing to really write home about here. Just trying to get any bit of an advantage that he can get. They've also kind of scattered out the double stack that was made in the triangle on the Radiant side, but they'll just block that off with the Sentry Ward and just try to make it as hard as humanly possible for the catch-up of the Luna. Azul Rain is going to be spotted now, and that should give away the fact that there is a ward blocking that camp. Problem is, young PH, he's going to move over and just clear this out anyway. Looks like we're going to have to start all over again for Yif. In fact, I didn't mean that ironically either, John. He's going to get caught out and probably just die here. Light Strike Array is going to land, and they'll have plenty of damage. In fact, across the map, Menu Ping also in trouble on the Ogre. Also set to fall, and does. T able to pick that one up on the Mars. So 2 more kills across the map for YG.
And YG's starting to pick up that pace. This is exactly what we want to see from them in comparison to Game 1. They're getting aggression out, they're applying pressure early on. Orca are still finding good farm. They're sacrificing supports, but BT Faded still safe in the jungle. He's dipping in and out. They don't want to give this bot tier 1 too early on, but it's also not the biggest tower to lose. So as long as VT Faded's protected from that movement, I think you are willing to take that loss here on the side of Orca, but they've got to be very cautious with how much they bleed out.
Lane, GY, he's committed the Ravage. He's committed Ravage to try and run, but young PH has another Dragon Slave. He's going to throw it the wrong way, though. Trying to do all this blind. GY, he may have made it, and he does. Not sure if you can really call it worth with the Ravage, though, but I suppose for YG now, they know they've got a pretty big opening. Young PH will go back into that Radiant Triangle where the D-Ward was about to happen from Yif, but it looks like it may cost him his life once again. As young PH, he's not going to back off yet, just needs another Dragon Slave to connect here onto the Snapfire, and is going to land it. Very nice. Another kill to go the way of the Lena. And again, while you know that Ravage is down, I think YG can get very aggressive.
They did commit Chrono as well from their Faces Void, kind of force that Ravage out on GY, but they are still in the better position. That's the one big piece of teamfight control Orca has outside of Dreamcoil, and Citrus is just not showing up past the mid lane. He's still stuck mid, he's trying to match that Lena's pace, keep her in check, and that should open up some aggression for YG. They've got Arena ready to go. They can just commit onto here if they want to, but it looks like they're also satisfied keeping the lane static. They're keeping Kish up top, GY's not moving, they're not moving away from bot. The only real movement out has been Zarain, just playing around with young PH, ensuring the lane's not going to die, because you can leave your Faces Void solo now. So everything else is holding steady, and no one's really looking for a massive opening yet. Citrus does have an Invis, could look for a snipe here.
Could. See Zarain, and you might as well just take the kill if you can. Look around for young PH, but is not going to be able to secure a Lena kill as he has left. So instead, just go after the Disruptor, but Zarain is somehow still alive. Citrus really just playing with his food here. He will eventually secure the kill and orb the other way, but AT is there with the spear out. A nice dodge away into the Mortimer's Kisses now, just trying to keep this puck alive. It looks like they've got the Mars, or maybe not, as AT does barely get out, and so does Skill A. And in the meantime, they end up losing Menu Ping. Somehow, though, those two heroes surviving through the Mortimer's Kisses, quite impressive here for YG.
Yeah, just not enough damage coming through from Yif, and good spacing out from YG to kind of force the choices with the Spit. That does give a big opening to YG now. They know Dreamcoil's down, they know Ravage is down, Kisses are down, no damage coming through for Orca in a bigger engagement. They're forced to bring the numbers in to mid to protect, and unfortunately, YG has a massive disconnect right now, Mike.
Well, let's hope that there's good news coming after this disconnect, John, because we've seen these 5-man disconnects before, and they can be quite scary in terms of, you know, reconnecting. So usually it's like a power outage or the internet drops out. Hopefully nothing like that for YG. We'll wait and see when we get an update. Of course, there's nobody in the game to give us the update right now, so well, at least we've got Zorain coming in, so maybe he can provide us with one. GY's asking. Here I was thinking GY was being a nice guy.
I love these guys. You can tell they're all just jolly friends. They're like, don't unpause it, look for the kills. Come back. Don't kill us. It's not a pub, guys. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, you say that, John. I wouldn't be surprised if there was an unpause just one day. Just out of nowhere. Just they screw it. We're unpausing. What are you going to do about it?
Oh.
I mean, I believe they are probably going to go for a chase into skill A, but I suppose you never know.
I can kill your brother. Yeah.
No help there. No need to help him out, young PH. Young PH is out here snitching on his teammates, Jonathan.
Yeah, he wants to live. He's the win condition. You can sacrifice your Rubik. GY go, yeah, we'll do that. They are in position for it though. Like Yef is hungry. Minyo pings back. Kish. Not satisfied, Kish.
Oh, punks are never satisfied, John. Well, Kish does have 7 seconds of till Chrono's back up. He could make a pretty big play here. I mean, they haven't got the numbers. But if Skill A can buy enough time, we could see a pretty big Chrono. Though, mind you, again, I question whether they have enough damage to get much done in that Chrono. I suppose if you've got the Lina sitting outside of it, you probably have more than enough. Even without the Laguna, just being able to just right-click away should do the trick.
Yeah, I think that would be enough. Like, you don't have much protection here on Orca. In fact, they might have a damage issue on Orca right now. They do not have the Kisses, no Dream Coil. It's only Ravage. So they don't have any follow-up spells to help burst down some of these heroes. Yeah. Well, if they are only gunning for skill Leto, it doesn't take much.
No, certainly not. We are going to have some more disconnections coming in from YG, just ensuring everything's fine with the internet. How's your internet been holding up, by the way, Jonathan? I like to ask you once in a while,
good.
You know?
It's been good. You know, we're supposedly at 300 Mbps right now.
Wow.
And when I am on my Wi-Fi closer to the router, it does get to that point. I am connected by Ethernet, but not directly. I use like power line Ethernet, so I basically have this thing that goes into my socket, into the wall socket, and I plug that on both ends of my house. So my Ethernet goes through my electrical circuitry because I don't have a direct line. And I tried upgrading my cable up to Cat 6 because it was Cat 5e, which on paper should be enough, but I think the bandwidth was just a bit too small to saturate. So I go up to Cat 6, I plug it in now. I went from 100 Mbps up and down to 150. I think I'm, unfortunately, capped by my electrical circuitry. So now I'm thinking about how do I run a cable from one end of the house to another end. It's kind of a nightmare to think about, but
you know, John,
I gotta get that sweet speed, Mike.
I don't know if you can complain. I mean, you've seen what's holding my internet together right now.
It's true.
Theoretically.
Which you can't admit to it, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to admit to what we're doing, but, you know, it's you know, not great. But anyway, if you flew me out to the Philippines, right, we could probably hook up some stuff through your house, if you know what I mean. Like, we'll get some wiring going. We'll get you that nice Cat 6 cable or whatever the hell you want.
Oh,
get those 300 megabyte speeds.
Oh, yeah.
All you got to do is get me to the Philippines, John.
Sweet. Yeah, you just got to get over here. I don't know if we let people in right now, because, you know, the virus is kind of raging again, but it is what it is, Mike, you know. Circumstance of the times.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately.
Absolutely. Oh, it's good to hear that they... Go on, John.
Yeah.
You're going to ask me a question for once. This is going to be
I was going to ask, how's the shed holding up? Because you said there was a storm brewing. How's it holding?
Yeah, I mean, the thunderstorm... The thunder's so bad that the ground is... And the shed is literally shaking. right? I mean, not right now, because you probably can't hear anything, but when the thunder does strike, Jonathan, the whole shed's shaking. And I don't know why you're sounding concerned, because in our private Discord group, you guys were making jokes about how funny would it be if the shed collapsed while Mike was on camera. And I'll have all of you know, watching out there, I would still cast. Even if the shed collapsed and it was raining and storming on top of me, Jonathan, I'd sit here and cast. Like a real damn caster. The show must go on, Jonathan.
Could you imagine if it's in that circumstance where your PC just doesn't crash in the rain? Like everything else, you know, there are some issues here and there, but in the rain, your PC's perfectly fine.
Oh,
you know,
we'll be
ends
right.
up working.
We'll get a tarp out, Jonathan. We'll be right. You know, a bit of shelter.
I think. Oh yeah, you know, I think this is the right moment to say, if something does happen, Mike, you've seen this, but Neff has called dibs on the shed. Neff Sensei himself from NA. He has called dibs first, so yeah. I think we should honor those dibs.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, he is going to get the shed. If something does, you know, if the worst happens, he'll get the damn shed if he really wants it. I think I should take a picture and show him the shed to show him it's barely a shed at this point, Jonathan. I mean, things are about to collapse at any moment in this damn thing. But you know, it's more like a box, I'd say. You know what I mean? It's just a big box.
Like a coffin?
Well, I mean, I guess so, Jonathan. Box? Depending on how bad the storm gets, it could be. It's a bit grim of you, though, isn't it?
That is a bit grim, Mike, I have to say. I mean, you're just telling me stuff in the shed a while ago before we started. You said there were ants.
There was ants.
You had an ant problem.
We have an ant problem right now in the shed.
You need to clarify for the viewers, how big are these ants, Mike?
They're quite big ants. I mean, it's hard to explain because people just aren't going to believe me if I say it. They're pretty big ants. I mean, these aren't your normal ants, Jonathan. I mean, at the very least, we're talking like, what, like maybe a centimeter in length at the minimum. Like, these are big ants, right? They're the aggressive ones too that tend to bite you. Like, they want to go to war kind of thing, right? So if they see something threatening their presence, they want to just come over and bite you. It's not very nice at all, among the other things. Though I do appreciate the advice you gave me earlier, which was to bring in an echidna and just leave it in the shed. I believe you called it an ant eater. And that way it can just eat the ants and I just kill two birds with one stone. I'll have a pet echidna just hanging out in my shed.
That'd be beautiful if it was legal. If it is, then I'd say go for it. If not, then I do not espouse anything that goes against the law, Mike.
Well, I don't think I'll find an echidna in time, Jonathan. They tend to burrow underneath the earth. As well as that, Jonathan, I don't know if you know, but they're quite spiky. Like, they're like a bristleback, you know?
Bristleback, I see.
Right, they have spikes on their back, quite literally. So, you know, assuming I accidentally, you know, step on it, it'd be quite a painful experience for me. And I'm sure that the echidna as well. So it's a terrible idea, John. Terrible idea.
You know what's a terrible idea, Mike? Living in Australia in general sounds like a pretty bad idea. I do not understand how people live there, with these gigantic ants, these freaking drop bears, redbacks, huntsmen living in your house like they're friends. Like how?
It's not necessarily living, John. We're more surviving, I think is the right word. You know, you're just. Dougie says their power's gone out. Managers keeping updated. Thank you, Dougie. It's #1 admin Dougie from BTS. Love to see him around. We will extend their pause time due to the situation. Well, that's great, Dougie. You see that, Jonathan? This is why we bring Dougie in. Because he doesn't look at the rule book. He doesn't try to read through and see what the rule... He just makes the rules as he goes. He's the boss here. You know? Citrus, just... Okay. We accept it. You don't ask questions, Jonathan. You don't ask these pro players what they want. You tell them what they're going to get.
Absolutely.
Oh, now GY's asking questions. Dougie. Step in there, Dougie. You let him know. No questions. No questions allowed, Dougie.
Literally just replies, no questions, please. That's why he's the best. Oh, God. God bless Dougie. This is a fun time, isn't it, Mike? This is only our second series, Mike.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
We've got 3 best of 3s. I've had no sleep. I'm pretty sure I've got some intestinal problems right now because I suppose we may as well tell the story. So what happened is the reason I couldn't sleep last night, it was my wife's birthday. We went out to, you know, have a few drinks, as you do. Had a few beers, Jonathan. Went back to our penthouse that I, you know, got for her birthday. It wasn't, you know, amazing. It was literally a bigger apartment. They just call it a penthouse. Don't think I'm wealthy. I'm not. right? So we went back to the penthouse, and I decided, because I got hungry at 12 o'clock at night, I decided to eat half of a chocolate mousse cake. And I forgot that I drank beer that night. And as you can imagine, the beer and the chocolate mousse cake didn't really mix very well. So it felt like I had lava in my stomach the whole night, John, and it wasn't very nice. And that's why I didn't sleep.
Ah, that's beautiful, Mike. That's
Oh, look at
that is just a thing.
Look
And
at
there
that.
you go.
GY. with the
GY
numbers.
giving the proper shout out, yeah.
Well
to
done,
Diggy.
GY. Well done. You know, Nino never gets these thank yous from the pros. I mean, I hope Nino's watching. Nino, you could learn a thing or two from Doug. I mean, you see how he just takes control of the situation, Nino, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah. He puts it down, you know, no room for any interpretation here. This is what's happening. This is what will happen, and you got to deal with it. That's it. Foot down. That's Dougie. A real Scotsman.
You got any stories about your casting experience with Parker? I mean, I didn't get to ask you much about it. Shout out to Parker, by the way. We are just joking. Thank you for stepping in when, you know, Treant Protector attacked my my internet. Any more stories about... What did you notice different about Parker, Jonathan? Well, while you were cheating on me.
We were having fun. I was playing around with my microphone a lot more. So on the last day, I was putting like these Pokemons on my microphone.
Pokemon?
And that was fun. Yeah. I've got like the entire line of Cyndaquil. Why is she yelling for how to come back? I've got this entire line of Cyndaquil figures.
Right.
So in the first game, on the tiebreakers, I play Cyndaquil. Then I place Quilava. And plays Typhlosion. And it's fun. Park is very laid back to cast, but you know, he feels like a proper gentleman. Like,
What do I say? What do I feel like to you? Be honest.
I don't have any polite words.
Oh no! Oh.
You know. Okay. You know, like a mate. You're like a mate. You're rough around the edges. Parker, he's a gentleman.
I'm a
Treats you
mate,
well.
and Parker's a gentleman. Right.
Yes. That's the polite way of putting it. The impolite way would be a certain word that's very common parlance in Australia.
Oh, don't say that word, Jonathan. That offends people around the world quite often. Even though we use it to say hello in Australia. You know?
Yep.
Well, that's nice to hear
Beautiful
that you enjoyed Parker. Thank you for being a gentleman, Mr. Parker. I'll take John back now. Thank you. Can come back to his toxic relationship with me, I suppose.
Mike.
Yeah.
How many therapy sessions have we been in together? None.
Hey,
that's far too little, Mike.
For the first time today, I didn't bring this up earlier, but you said I love you on the stream. In the previous series, you said if your power cuts out, just know that I and everybody watching loves you. And I felt very special for once, Jonathan. Thank you for saying that.
Oh, that is the first time in our relationship. All this time after everything we've been through.
It was.
Oh my goodness, we do need couples therapy, Mike. We do need therapy.
We do.
We've got problems.
We also need some electricity right now for YG, and they haven't got it. For anyone wondering why these idiot casters keep talking, go on, John.
The terrifying thing is if they do potentially lose here, they still have last chance qualifiers. But if they don't get electricity, they might not be able to play it.
I shouldn't laugh. It's pretty terrible for them. But yeah, that is kind of sad. Like it's sad, but you just gotta laugh, right? Because it's like, what are you gonna do? I hope YG gets their power back. You know. And at this stage with Southeast Asian internet, you may as well just have like not internet but electricity. You may as well just have a generator outside the house. You know, just in case. I feel like if I owned a team in Southeast Asia, that's probably what I would do. Is just have a big diesel generator outside just in case.
You know, the funny thing with that is, with a lot of Southeast Asia going to... I love that GY types up Doogie in the second line. The funny thing is, you know, with fiber getting more common, it's not like DSL where without power you still have a connection because it's through the dial-up wire, right?
Yeah.
Without power, with fiber, you don't have a connection because you need the light emitters on the fiber optic to send the signal out. So when the grid's down, your internet's also down. You could power your PCs back, but then you'd need something like a 5G Wi-Fi receiver, mobile data to kind of play in. And that's still not fully rolled out. So, in as much as you could get the generator, it doesn't quite solve all the issues yet, Mike.
Well, that's upsetting. That is very upsetting. We have had the word, by the way, excuse me, that Dougie has informed us that they are on the way, apparently. So that's good news, Jonathan. We aren't going to have to just cancel the match. Though I believe they only have 3 minutes reserve time left, which is probably more like 2 minutes. But, you know, we won't count anymore. They're reconnecting. It's fine. Everything's fine. They have pause time. Let's get it on with. This is game number 2.
Yeah, this is looking good. All right. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Young PH, for coming as well.
Thank you, everyone, for having such nice manners today. To see that everyone's been raised well in this lobby, apparently, Jonathan. Everyone's just so polite.
Yeah, everyone's really nice. You know, I'm looking at chat right now. You're telling your story about what you did on Mrs. LaPhoenix's birthday.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you got her an apartment. I think everyone thinks that you bought her an apartment.
No.
And they're like, you got your wife an apartment, but you're not wealthy. You know?
No. I rented a penthouse for my wife's birthday. It's not, all I'm trying to say is, it's not a fancy penthouse. It's not what they're thinking where, you know, you have massive bottles of champagne and a billion people upstairs and you're having a crazy... Listen, it was a penthouse. All it means is it's a bigger apartment. It was a 1-bedroom penthouse. There was nothing special about it is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, I definitely did not buy her an apartment. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Please do not start messaging me to ask for apartments and things like that. I can't afford that crap. I can barely afford a house right now, Jonathan. I mean, I'm in a shed casting. What's that?
You know what you can't afford? An NFT, Mike. That's what you can get, I'm sure.
Well, I'm getting one, Jonathan. I told you. I'm going to get one of those bearded men. I told you.
Oh, goodness. All right.
And I'm getting 2. I'm getting 2 of them because I'm still going to buy your one as well. Because I want to be the owner of the JohnXFire NFT.
Oh, God. Even Orca's having fun. Oh,
oh goodness. Men, you ping.
I think Skill Lays realized what's about to happen to him. He said no. He's about to die in mid, maybe. What's happening?
I don't know. I don't know.
I realize, Mike. I realize one thing. This is very important. I have to point this out. We've been calling Menu Ping's hero Ogre Magi this entire match. It's clearly Jakiro.
Right.
We've been mistaken. That is Jakiro, and we do have to go. They do reconnect. So what happens?
Wow. Oh. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, the team fight has broken out. They did get Skill Lay. And after a 15-minute pause, Jonathan, believe it or not, I missed the kill that we've been talking about for so long. So there you go. Skill Lay ends up dying. I don't believe they committed anything big for that. And that'll make it a 4-5, 12 minutes into this game. I mean, you know, you're still in the lead for Team Orca, but only slightly in terms of net worth. Not a big deal.
Yeah, it's not a massive lead. YG are still in a good position right now. They've managed to get a decent amount of farm on their Lina. That's really the big part for YG. They've sacrificed AT's farm, they've sacrificed Kish's farm to an extent, but you're at the point where the face is void, where you've got the Mask of Madness. So you have some damage in Chrono. You can flash farm a little bit better now as well with the attack speed boost, and they will play around with the smoke. They've got Chrono ready. Arena's not too far off. Everything's ready to go, and they just need to find something.
Yeah, nice Chrono. That's the target you want. Problem is, Yip is around to try and ward them off, but a Static Storm and Spear just to make sure Citrus dies. A hell of a lot of commitment, but when you've got a slower draft like YG's, you just take what you can get. Hell, they might even be able to get some chip damage onto this mid-tier 1 tower. As Young PH is going to set up. There is going to be a smoke to come out. Orca, they're going to sneak up from the backside and see if they can pick somebody off. Problem is, Ravage never flew out from GY. Instead, they have got a Fire Blast onto Zorain, so VT Faded will get to work, but he cannot dive the tier 1. Not quite yet. Still GY is trying, but just can't break the gap. They'll go after the tier 1 mid. And I suppose if you manage to get that, it's not really too bad here for the side of Orca.
Yeah, maybe clear out the mid, so now jungle opens up a lot more. Really early time for VT Fate to join in, but he knows he's pretty strong just with the Dragonlance and Mask of Madness. He can just clear out the wave, get the push going. That's where the strength lies right now for Orca. And they can get that early objective game done fast with their lineup, whereas for YG, you need a lot more damage up on Young PH before that happens. So they're going to have to take that loss and be really safe around their jungle. They don't have the best control in that area anymore. They have been playing down bot a lot more. But Orca will just smoke up and look to hunt down the remnants of YG right now.
Still got that Ravage. Young PH would be a great target, and Dream Coil is going to be there to lock him down. Using that Power Rune timing, this could be a big pick-off for Citrus. He might drop. In fact, it looks like he will on Young PH. He's going to walk away from all this. Oh, maybe they should have just popped the Ravage, because they just lose so much and gain so little. They're still going to try and chase down Skill A at the least. They will be able to find the Rubik. Can they find anyone else though? GY still trying, but it's a pretty bad trade here for Orca.
And that's rough. You're just seeing way too much value from the glimpse coming through from Zarain. He did manage to level it up more. Left Thunderstrike at level 2 in lane. Didn't feel the need to go beyond that. So that added range is just giving him so much in terms of cutting off GY's initiation. Without that follow-through Ravage, the burst damage just isn't coming out, and they're finding really strong trades from YG because of it. GY is going to need that initiation tool ASAP. He is going for the Ags first, so the Blink's going to be a little bit longer, and even the Blink's going to be a bit tough. You really need something to get you out of that glimpse anyway. Maybe a Yules, maybe a BKB helps the cause here, but nothing that the Tide necessarily likes to build. So have to really keep an eye as to where Zarain is. Looks like Orca now is getting their own paws out. Ben Yoping is the one who's going to give us a bit of a wait on his Jakiro, of course. Yeah. So we're going to have to wait that out for a bit longer.
Of course. Going back to the point that the viewers were making in the chat, Jonathan, that I was apparently buying my wife an apartment. If I'm married, right? If I'm married to this woman, why would I buy her an apartment? Like, why would we need to live separately? I mean, you see my point, John. It's how could you possibly assume that me, a Dota 2 caster, that's casting a BTS Pro Series 10 right now, not only one could afford the apartment, but two, why would I buy her an apartment? I'd buy me an apartment, John. Why am I casting in a damn shed?
Because you like to rough it, you know? You're just that kind of fellow. You love being close to nature, Mike. It's in your Australian blood, as we all know. You love to be right next to the ants, right next to the snakes, and right next to those redbacks that we all know and love. Very true.
Thank you for that, John. YG, still 1k behind. I mean, the last team fight was pretty good for them. Problem being, though, that BT Faded is still farming quite well on the Luna. So a nice smoke going to make their way over to Menu Ping and BT Faded. But smoke is broken on Kish. So unless he wants to really commit that chrono on the Ogre, Menu Ping's going to be just fine. And BT Faded, it's a target you'd love to take down right now for YG, but well, BT is going to be just fine to keep that farm up. I mean, mind you, you've still got Kish around that top side if he does show on the creep wave, but for now, VT, he's been quite patient. Looks like he wants to try and go on to skill A with the Eclipse out. Be a nice little pick off. They even find Zulrain in the backside. BT still waiting around, just being very cautious, but here comes the Eclipse right in onto the Rubik's head. They just want a nice easy kill, and they might just get it. BT, he's able to take it on that Luna. And YG, they just don't respond.
Yeah, I think they made a big mistake on YG with that smoke play earlier on, Mike. They smoked under a ward. So that gave Menu Ping the information he needed. He stood by the ramp. He told VT Fade to step back, and that cut off that rotation. Still, yeah.
Yeah, he's just going to move in. You've got Menu Ping there to try and help out, but he just wasn't confident to move in for the Fire Blast. So nice little trade there as YG do get a kill there for Zulrain, of all people. Kish probably would have enjoyed that gold, but not going to be so lucky. Nevertheless, I believe he's got the full Maelstrom up now anyway, so he'll be fine. 6-8, still a pretty quiet game, all things being said and done. Both teams still pretty satisfied to just keep the farm up. I suppose there is a bit on the line here for YG, as, you know, they'd rather not have to go into another best-of-3 series right after this if they can avoid it, especially with all the power issues they've been having as of late. You'd rather not risk it if you can. They'll just take their time and make sure that the game does go their way to force it to a game number 3. There's going to be a smoker. Trying to get that chrono on cooldown.
Are scanning.
Problem is they're going to run right into a 5-man of Orca. Orca just kind of trying to go after Young PH right now and catch him off guard in that dire jungle. But Young PH taking the defensive farm. No blink on GY. You've got one on Citrus, but he's not going to commit the blink in either. Instead, they'll look to the backside. A lot of pings flying out as they are going to run into AT. GY throws the gush out, but again, just cannot initiate for the Ravage. It seems though both teams are just going to leave it at that. Neither one really happy with their position. They just smoke up later and try again.
That is really cautious from Orca. I feel like they had the upper hand in finding the Lina solo. They are in a good position. Oh, Chrono.
Yeah, great Chrono out. Gonna catch out that Lunon. They should have enough to just lock BT Fader down and take him out completely. Like they even found menu ping. GY though still gonna show up with a Ravage, and it does land onto 3 heroes, but Skill A. No, he doesn't actually steal it away. Never mind. Zorain. He's gonna drop, but that was your Ravage committed for a Disruptor kill. And it's probably going to mean the life of GY, but no. Young PH does leave him be. Would you really call that worth, though, for the side of Orca?
No. Definitely not. Like, they would have had an advantage holding onto the Ravage, waiting for the respawns, and looking to force the fight after, because there's no Chrono, there's no Static Storm, no Arena. Everything was thrown out from YG. They found a really good angle. And it did feel a bit reckless of Orca to retake that triangle after the smoke-on-smoke collapsed on itself. So, got a bit too greedy going back to the camps, get punished for it, and that does give YG a slight advantage now. And you are in a bit of a worrying position. VTB Faded still has a gold advantage in comparison to Orphace's Void, but it really has to grow faster. It looks like they might force Roche without the Chrono to worry about. This could be good. Remember, they don't have Ravage themselves to force the fight as well.
YG, they don't have the Arena either, nor do they have that Static Storm for another 15 seconds, so unless they can delay this, it's going to be a free Roshan to go the way of Orca. Zorain now, he's going to be chased down, but he will be able to make it out. It seems though YG just understand they don't really have the opportunity or the means to really try and contest Roshans. They'll let this one go. And Orca, considering how the game's going, probably shouldn't be able to get away with a free Roche like that, but well, that's exactly what they got.
Yeah, you just understand when YG's a bit weak. Once they use their big team fight spells, they can't really run in and expect to win a fight. There's still a lot of smaller spells Ragdoll could play with. Dream Coil was still available. That cooldown's fairly low as well if it is committed, so we've got some turnaround time with that. They don't necessarily need Eclipse, but it was available on VT Faded. Only big thing really is Ravage. Beyond that, you can just kind of pick and choose as you go for the side of Orca. YG, they have to be connected with all of their ults. The Chrono has to be up, and that's really the longest cooldown from YG that's keeping them back. It's always at least 2 minutes 20 seconds at the highest level. So there's always a bit of downtime after they do find that kill, and that'll always push their tempo back. I think that does give Orca more openings. Still very even game, Mike. 17-11. Another smoke out from YG, though.
Gotta try. I mean, ultis are back up. GY, probably not the target they want to start on. They'd love to find that puck again, but Citrus just not showing on the map right now. But he may in a second, as that creep wave is approaching slowly. They realize the puck is bot lane, but again, it's going to be very hard to catch him. Instead, they might have to just commit to GY. It is still a tanky tide, and he does have help around. Instead, never mind, they found Yif. It's probably the only target they can securely just kill off. They will land the spear very nicely here from AT. They get a snapfire for their trouble. In fact, have they found more? They do find the puck. Young PH about to take him out. Citrus, though, going to go for a bit of a run, and well, they won't have the control. They do not commit the Chrono. So in the end, the puck is going to be able to make it out. The Young PH almost finding a solo pickoff.
Yeah, that's pretty big if they did find that puck kill. Ragdoll or Orca is really depending on the puck to playmate for them, because as we've seen, GY doesn't have a blink. It's all down to the puck to find that initial angle, set up with the Dream Coil, open up that opportunity to Ravage out from GY. And if you lose that puck, you're losing a lot of the build-up that Citrus does need. He is falling a bit behind in that fort, but still having a better time in comparison to our Void and our Mars. So you're not progressing too badly, but we need to see way more. I think You'd love to see the ag sound line once the BKB start flying out, and it is flying out soon here, especially for Kish. So we need to see a response out from Puck, and that's the only thing they can respond with. Just a stun that goes through the BKB, ensure that Citrus is outside, gets a proper use up against Chrono. Easier said than done, as we've seen Kish be really good at isolating heroes and forcing the fight immediately when YG finds the angle.
Big smoke up here, Orca. And try again. This time around they have the blink on GY to make that big initiation. They'd love to catch that Void. Kish though not going to show. Instead smoke will be broken onto Skill Lay. They'll try to chase him down. This will give plenty of time for the rest of YG to just make their way out. And in fact they have to Ravage. Bit of a extreme way to get that support Rubik kill, but I suppose you've committed 2 smokes for this. You may as well just commit the Ravage and take the kill.
Yeah, they just take what they can get, and I think that at least opens up a bit of a push for them down bot, but now YG knows Ravage is down. They've got Chrono, they've got Static Storm, Arena's ready to go. They know there's no counterplay, no counter control from Orca outside of really just Dream Coil, and it just doesn't feel like that's going to be enough, especially since you do have that BKB on Kish. So they can't force the issue further here in Orca. They find a tier 1 for their trouble, and that's going to be it. They need to pull back, they need to keep building up. They need to get to this point where VT Faded just gets super strong, and he's still a ways off from getting that full Scotty up. Like, it's not just the Scotty VT Faded will need, it's usually with a Silver Edge that we expect the Luna Power Spike to be at, maybe a Daedalus. There's could be an argument for a Satanic or Butterfly for durability. Butterfly especially for, say, at least getting some evasion in Chrono. But all of that is still a long way off. Even with his item advantage or gold advantage over Kish, you're still starting to lag behind Lina. And we talked about this early on, Mike, but in YG's case, the win condition isn't really Kish. He's basically set up for Young PH. And Young PH is still ahead. Silver Edge up, BKB up. If you can't pin down the Void with a BKB, you're also likely not to pin out the Lina with a BKB.
Another pause we've got to wait out here, Jonathan. Menu ping. Having a few issues here on the Ogre. YG, I mean, have a look at the graphs right now, and 51% is the win probability at the moment for YG. Very, very close game between the two. And one team fight could just kind of throw all that away and just send it, you know, rising one way or the other. By the way, while we're in a pause, my wife said thank you for saying happy birthday yesterday. I didn't show her on stream. I know you did that cheeky happy birthday, Mrs. Le Phoenix, at the end of the stream, John. Didn't get to show her yet, but she was thankful that you wished her a happy birthday. But I was quick to remind her that you didn't remember, and I had to tell you. So you know, there's nothing to thank you about. I kind of invited you to wish her a happy birthday. To be fair, I don't think you really deserve the credit.
Of course, Mike. Of course. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
For giving me the opportunity to greet the missus a happy birthday.
Thank you. Polite reminder as well to the viewers that care, she is 30 now. So I know my wife loves telling people how old she is, so 3-0. The big 3-0, Jonathan. Old wife's getting old.
Well, I do believe you're turning a certain age this year, Mike, so, you know. Aren't you turning 30, or aren't you 31?
My God. You don't even...
Which one is...
You don't even know my age.
3-0, because I feel like we hit it last year.
We did hit it last... I am 30.
And okay. Then there you go, 31. There you go.
Oh.
Look at you, acting all high and mighty. You're older. You should know better, Mr. Mike.
Go ahead is from Young PH. Good to see Young PH is willing to wait it out. Oh, goodness me.
Oh no, they're spelling GY again.
Oh, fair enough.
They never stop with the guy. Poor GY.
GY is a great guy.
It's his actual name. It's his actual name. What can you do?
What, GY is his actual name?
I think it's his initials. It's something with his Chinese name. I remember talking to him about it, and I don't remember. It was a very long name, Mike. But it is part of his name. Yes, yes,
well,
yes.
Yeah, you gotta love GY. I mean, he's had such great manners here today, Jonathan. I appreciate a man with good manners. A gentleman, as you would call it. Not me, that is. Of course, you called Parker a gentleman, but you get my point. GY is a gentleman.
Oh, he is. It's a great lad. You know what makes him even more gentlemanly? He's not using the dad bod tide, like we see a lot of offlaners do, right? Like he's not rocking that gut.
Yeah.
So he's a well-mannered person. Anyone with that set, Masaros being the big one, you can tell they've got an attitude when they play offlane. They've got something to prove with their gut.
Yeah. Speaking of
GY
which,
doesn't, so he's solid. Yep.
I mean, we have a pause, John. We're running out of garbage to talk about, so we should probably talk about Dota. Roster changes, Jonathan. Motivate Trust, you just brought them up. They lost Jackie. At least for now, Jackie is standing in for Boom. I believe they got 23 Savage, right? So 23 Savage is going to step in for Motivate Trust. How do you feel that works? Do you think that's an upgrade for Motivate, or you think that's a downgrade? Do you think it's even?
I think it's even. I don't think Motivate Trust loses much there. I feel like Jackie and Savage are honestly top cores right now. If you look at their MMRs, they're both within top 5, top 10. And they've always been there. Savage is slightly higher, but I think you lose a lot of that synergy you did have with Jackie. Mind you, it's not like Savage isn't friends with the guys in Motivate Trust. He plays with all of them in the pubs. You know, the Thai players have this ungodly R they all play in pubs. Like 12 midnight Thai time to like 5 a.m. or like 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. They play at that time. I see Fearless streaming at that time. I ask him about it. Why the hell do you guys play then? He's like, well, that's when all of us play. I'm like, well, what the heck's wrong with all of you? He's like, I don't know. It's just a thing we do. It's like, oh, all right. So he's up streaming till 5 a.m. They're up playing. That's why when I message him for interviews on Media Day, Mike, they're all barely waking up by 12. Oh, yeah. Hey, guys, you've got Media Day. And it's like, right. Yeah, we've been up playing Dota. I mean, you know, you got to get those games in. 11 to 5 is a bit extreme. Oh, yeah. It is what it is.
Bit ridiculous, I must admit. We're going to get to see these roster changes occurring as well. I didn't realize tomorrow is the start of the regional finals, Jonathan. Very, very exciting stuff. I completely forgot it was on tomorrow. We're going to be here. I believe we're doing Boom versus SMG, I believe. So that's going to be very exciting for us. I mean, Boom Esports, clear favorites, but I think SMG is slowly improved as well. So it's going to be a pretty hype matchup. Especially because you've got that big change in POS 1s now. And I think a lot of eyes are going to be on Jackie and how he does perform and whether Boom Esports can really make it work with him. Because it's a pretty drastic change, I'd say, in playstyle between Tino and Jackie, right? Like Tino being more known for that very early aggressive sort of carry style, whereas Jackie's more known for that very fast farm, but you do need to give him that space and that time.
Yeah, it's a shift out for them, and I'm keen to see how Boom adjusts to that. Whether or not they can adjust quite well. And it's also a change in hero pool, right? Because, you know, the meme right now for Jackie is Raid King Medusa is it. Whereas for Tino, it's been Razor and a few odd bitten pieces here and there. So keen to see how they adjust to Jackie, what sort of ideas they do have in mind to get that rolling. But I feel like somehow, every single time, Mr. Gary Onko finds the best.
Gary knows
he's been finding the best trades, Gary. He's been finding the best trades in teams, and he's been finding some good trades for his portfolio on the internets. You know, he's been doing great for himself.
Well, what's in his portfolio, Jonathan? What's he tweeting about?
I don't know, but
he
tweets about stuff, and he says it's good, so I believe him just so he's happy.
Fair enough. There you go. Well done, Gary. It does mean bringing in a new carry, Jonathan. That does mean new iPhones that need to be handed out. Naturally, Jackie's going to need his iPhone now, so we'll see how Jackie performs. I'm sure Gary's got a few iPhones on the side just ready whenever he gets asked for one.
You know, that reminds me. I should remind Jackie to remind Gary to get the iPhones ready. There must have been an iPhone clause in these Boom contracts now. There must be an iPhone clause. Surely.
I'm waiting for the Apple sponsorship to come in. I'm sure Boom will be the first to hear about it. Thank you, Dougie. Oh, you see, this is why we love Dougie. Happy birthday, MLP's wife, he says. He just goes that extra step. You know when you get great customer service, Jonathan? That's Dougie, but just in the admin world. You're going to love Dougie.
Oh, yeah. He's the best for a reason. And what is also great, Mike, we've got the game back. Menyo Ping is back on his hero, of course. Make no mistakes there. YG in a good position to still be aggressive. They still have Chrono. They've got that silver edge up in Young PH. They can go hunting again. And
no, they can't. No, they can't, Jonathan. We've got to pause. We're not done talking yet, sir. Another question. Here's a spicy topic, right? I don't know how long this pause is going to last, but, you know, you can talk on forever. So, T1. Kick 23 Savage. What do you think about that? Do you like it? I know you and I did a podcast. We were guests on a podcast. We had things to say about this because there was rumors swirling. Of course, Master Cuckoo put it in everyone's mind that it was Anna. You know, but, you know, you've got to learn the hard way with Master Cuckoo. He's the master after all, Jonathan. He does tend to trick people. So Gabby's in now, instead of 23 Savage. Upgrade or downgrade, John?
Oh, this is going to be spicy to say.
The Filipinos are watching, I'm sure.
I'm a Filipino, you guys. Okay, so I've got my. Look, on paper, removing any sort of synergy, removing any sort of past connections, it's a straight downgrade. It just is. You have to consider the individual performances on your teams in the season. We all saw Talon. We all had high expectations for Talon. We all saw how that went, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Even on MMR, like again, Savage is like top 1 to 3. Maybe he's number 4 right now. Whereas, and as far as I remember, Gabby's like rank 70, maybe rank 50 at highest, right? And I know at that point, top 100 MMR doesn't matter, but it still does mean something to be like top 4. That shows like a consistent thing that you have in pubs that individually you as a player manage to win more than you lose. Right, so I think quantifiably, it's a downgrade. But there's an unquantifiable gain for T1 there, and that is the Gabby Cuckoo connection.
Right.
Because these guys are friends from a long time ago. These guys, you know, they're in the Philippines, seeing him, Carl, and now Gabby. The connection's there, you know. So I think that is something that can't be quantified, and that's the gain that T1 wants to get. You know, it's just... You might be mechanically a slight downgrade, not much. I think at that point, you know, it's not much of a downgrade mechanically wise, but you gain this immense connection, this immense understanding between each other that might just transcend your 1 year together as a team.
I'm gonna say
that connection between Gabby, Cuckoo, and Carl has been there for a long time.
As much as I love T1, they are very cutthroat, aren't they? In the way they draft their roster. I mean, you had Jackie qualify for a major, gets taken over by 23 Savage. 23 Savage qualifies for a major. And now Gabby's coming in. I mean, it's just T1. I mean, I love you guys, but Jesus Christ, calm down. Let them play it out for a bit. I mean, we'll see how they go. I'm very intrigued. We're going to see tomorrow how the new roster does perform with Gabby. I'm sure many people will be watching very carefully, as every time there's a roster change, especially in the Southeast Asian region, people are one side or the other. You're never really in the middle. I want to say in this region, you either love it or you hate it, and if it doesn't perform and you hate it, you're going to let them know about it in the Twitch chat, which is why I love to hang out there and just, you know, goad people on, just make them even more hateful. It's fun.
Yeah, it is, and it's certainly going to be fun to see how they perform tomorrow. I know, like, in that podcast we were talking, right, and I still would rate, like, Boom first, but I'm actually very worried about Boom versus Fnatic. Because I think Fnatic just looks sick. Like, if Boom played Fnatic in second half, it would have been a very, very different story. And we actually have the go-ahead. Everyone's out of pause time, but he is reconnecting. It looks like the go-ahead will go. Oh, Young PH is willing to wait. The issue is no one has pause time, Young PH. You don't have pause time to drag us out. Okay, there you go. There's Dougie. He gives a minute. There you go, Mike.
Do we have to... I mean, we love Dougie. Obviously, Dougie, again, just taking the rule book and throwing it in the bin, just getting it done himself. I was wondering if we needed to chip in, John. As the cast is like, we'll take a minute. You know, I need a minute break for a bathroom. You know, just help the teams out.
Absolutely perfect.
I'm sure we've got some pause time. We're very important people in the lobby, Mike.
Very funny.
We've got some influence on that pause button.
Yeah, very, very funny. I mean, sadly enough, we've been the main English casters before, and the lobby's gone without us. It's happened before, ladies and gentlemen. It's kind of sad to say, as the main English talent in some tournaments, they just don't wait for us.
That happens. It happens. It's okay. You know, what can you do?
Well, you know,
what can you do?
We're not that relevant, John.
True. Yeah, I mean, you're in a shed.
Yeah, I am in a shed. I am in a shed right now. If you guys are wondering why things are starting to get a little bit quiet, it's because we've probably... How long have we spent talking? It's probably been like 30 minutes of pause time now. Thank you, Dougie. He's just going to go for the unpause. Hopefully, Menu Ping reconnects at any second. Young PH not happy with what he's saying, but I mean, Dougie, you know, he's done his best, Jonathan. You've got to give Dougie the credit. Done his absolute best.
Yeah, fortunately, no, out of all the heroes to disconnect like this, Ogre Magi is probably not the worst to have gone. You just use Bloodlust, your job's pretty much done. Just micro it next to VT Faded, drop Bloodlust every time, use a Veil in the middle of a team fight, you're good to go. So I don't think this will hurt Orca all too much. YG though, playing guns blazing, looking for the push down bot. Fortify is forced out, and Orca is in position to trade top. And the top trade is going to be a lot stronger for Orca. Going to open up that next Roche, which, despite how long we've taken to get here, Mike, is still 2 minutes, 45 seconds away till we see that respawn. So it would set up for Orca on the next Roche. They can keep that outpost. Fast push out from YG. And I think YG are still in a good spot. They've still got Chrono ready. They've still got Static Storm. They are still matching farm quite well. I do worry about Orca as this game goes on, because towards late game, again, up against a Void, you don't have a direct counter here. Your counters like Ag's Dream Coil and Ravage with the Void not having BKB, but that is rarely going to happen from Kish.
No, certainly not. So, I mean, obviously there's an inherent advantage right now for YG, even if it's just an Ogre Magi that just needs to spam Bloodlust and maybe a Fire Blast here and there. Wonder who's microing Menu Ping right now. I suppose you could literally do it as the Luna, right? Because you're the one who just wants Bloodlust all the time. So if anything, just make it follow you and just keep Bloodlusting. Maybe they just take turns. Like Citrus gets a Bloodlust. Now VT Faded's going to get a Bloodlust. Menu Ping is still quite effective, even if he's not here, I guess. So you were right, John.
Yeah. He's so skilled that he doesn't even need to play the game himself to have impact. That's how strong his Ogre Magi is right now, and it's not quite hurting Orca yet. Well, I'm with you. I mean, you're still man down. When push comes to shove, you'd want some well-timed Fire Blast, you'd want some Ignites at the right moment to set up with the slows, get some good stuns. You're going to lack that aspect here. You still get some value. They do find Skill Lay.
But they do. Skill Lay going to drop. It's easy pick off there for the side of Orca. Be a bloody mirror. I mean, if they won this game, I'd be so impressed. 4v5, even if it's an Ogre Magi, I'd be very impressive. LPH being a real nuisance here, just constantly trying to keep that bot lane pushed in, understanding with one man down, they probably can't really efficiently react to this. Like, you don't really want to keep GY here if you can avoid it. Young PH is probably just not going to back off. Just keep pushing in that bot lane. Keep forcing the rotation in from GY to protect it. And I suppose force a team fight across the map, which is what they're trying to do. But the speed does not land. Not into Citrus. I suppose for Orca, I mean, even if you wanted to smoke right now, you kind of just can't.
No. What they do have is maybe a freestanding ward here for Roshan online. So Menu Ping can just dip in. Risk-free, check for that respawn timer, which will show in about 10 seconds. Kind of start setting up. They really need this top tier 2 Gondo. They just haven't committed for that push. And that is giving YG a lot more room to breed, where they're playing in bot jungle well. They still have some control on the top jungle. Roche is respawning soon though, so they've got to be careful about that.
But they do. Spear is going to land. Glimpse back. They've got a great target in Citrus, but he's got an Aeon Disc up. It may not be enough though. The silence just lasting way too long. Citrus don't know the bash. It does come out for GY. He's in with the Ravage. They've got the Void, but Kish, nice chrono out onto 3 targets with the BKB to make sure he cannot be interrupted. They'll get Yif down. Eclipse will come in though from BT Fade as they continue trying to fight. A Menu Ping moves in, or at least whoever's microing him, but it's not working out as Skill A took the Eclipse away and throws it right back the way of Orca. YG are now going to be able to go right after Roshan, which just spawned up.
Yeah, unfortunate timing there for Orca. It looked like they were getting away with a lot, forcing a lot of spells onto Citrus, but then they just group up for that follow-up chrono and they just get smashed. They just have no counterplay for the chrono. They pop Ravage really early on, no follow-up to keep that control on the Kish. And now YG has this massive tool to bounce back in. Free Ag Shard coming out could be massive if they feed it onto the Void, and they will. Aegis goes to Young PH. You've got the dance back now with the reverse time walk for Fish. So the moonwalking's in play. It's going to be so much harder to kill off the Void. And just because he can reposition himself left, right, and center now. And the side of Orca. And this game doesn't get any easier as you go late game. Because, yeah, Luna scales into late game. Can it scale as hard as a Void and Lina? Likely not. All by herself, likely not at all. And I think that's what Orca needs to manage. They need to still try to get VT faded to the point where his right clicks does a lot. Still a long ways off from that Butterfly and potentially Silver Edge or Daedalus down the line.
YG really looking to put a nail in the coffin here in this game number 2. Pushing down those outer objectives. No fear in the world here for YGs. They might even try to force high ground. They're 35 seconds away from having Chrono back off cooldown, so they could just wait that out to really ensure that they just can't lose the fight. And they will. It's back to the triangle, just extend that net worth lead. Of course, Orca are desperately trying to do the same, but at 4v5, it's very challenging. VT faded now, falling quite far behind in net worth, behind both the Void and the Lina. Well, even if Menu Ping just reconnects now, it's... With the 6k net worth deficit, you're not out of the game 100%, but what's Dota Plus say? Currently 76% the way of YG, so really not too bad. Though I do believe Dota Plus does not realize that there is a disconnection, so it doesn't really take that into consideration.
Yeah, not quite. And because it is a lobby game, if at some point you actually can't reconnect, you know, it's not like you get the network back. It stays in that hero, so yeah, you don't really get a way of bouncing back from that, and that's going to put a bit of a dent onto Orca. YG going to smoke up. They've got the Chrono ready, Static Storm back up. Age is still running. With a reverse time walk, Kish could find an angle here.
Jump in, Young PH already low, but they've got the arena down. Eclipse still out from skill A. He still have that spell available, so they've almost got the tide. He's got Ravage, but he can't throw it out with the BKB, so he might have to buy back here into this team fight. AT meanwhile in trouble, but they've got the Chrono now. Kish, he's in onto that Luna through the BKB. It's just so much damage, but in the backside, they've got a big Ravage out. AT and skill A both to drop. They even got the Aegis off Young PH, but it won't matter. They've lost that Luna. Kish just doing way too much and allowed way too much time to do it. So they are successfully defending high ground against YG. So Young PH, he might be in trouble here as the Scatter Blast does land and they've got the control. They'll take down the Lina. It's just the Void versus the world now. Kish, he does not want to borrow, but it seems he tries to TP away. They've got no way to cancel it. And somehow, they've successfully defended 4v5, believe it or not.
They make it work somehow. It does cost a buyback on their tide. And if they manage to get their spacing right, they killed Lina twice. The only hero they really can't punish right now is the Void, and that is going to be a constant issue for them going forward. Just still no counterplay for the Chrono. Bash.
Yeah, first hit bash and a lift just in case. Line being drawn right through the mid lane. YG again just want to go straight for the jugular. Not looking to drag this out or waste any time. Even without Young PH, they might try to force high ground and maybe at least get a buyback out of this pot.
That could be big if they do force the buybacks. I think for YG, I feel like there's no need to rush. Right? Like, even though they lost that fight in the high ground, they lost the Aegis in a way that wasn't advantageous to them, they still don't need to rush this game because they've got that scaling towards late game. Even if you get recovery farm on VT Faded, it's very hard for him to actually use his net worth in the same way that the Void does.
Jump in. He may have gone too far. The stun was there, but BKB is going to be popped. So he goes after Menu Ping. Down the arena down AT, trying to turn this one around with the arena. It's not quite enough, but they've got the buyback from Citrus now, so maybe they can try to punish YG. YG has immediately backed off after seeing that buyback. It's basically what they came for in the first place. They'll be happy with that. However, Young PH sort of get caught out with a Dream Coil, but they just don't have the follow-up damage to really take care of that Lina. But YG, they may have had enough. They might just go back and get some resets going and maybe just come back a little bit later on.
No, they can just take their time now. Maybe get a bit of a reset. They still have Chrono ready to go, so they don't need to wait for too long. And they just kind of need to repair the lanes. Top lane especially has been shoved out against their favor on YG's end. Still a ways off until we see the next Roshan. 2 minutes, 3 minutes left. So got time to wait for YG. They can just keep choking out the side of Orca. Because this is time where VT Fated's not farming jungle. He's not building up towards that Daedalus. His damage is kind of plateauing right now. And there's just not much you can get out of these waves. That you're stuck to these waves every single time, and it's just not enough to sustain you. And you're still sharing that with a puck anyway. You're sharing it with your chorus, so your progression is coming to a standstill. And YG can just kind of play this way. No rush, choke them out, save up for your refreshes, save up for your Satanic on Kish, and take your time.
Could be a last-ditch team fight here as well. Orca, they've got a smoke ready. They'll pop it. They've got to get everything right here. It's a very hard fight to expect. But GY, he's in on to Young PH. They want that Lina gone. Yep, he's almost there and he gets him. Chrono down though, right onto that Luna. Kish, he'll just try to go right after the carry. And it looks like he's got him. BT Faded is down without buyback. Onto GY. That should be the tide gone. Menu ping to follow, it seems, as they are just cleaning them up. So 3 down without buyback now. Sure, you lose the Lina, but you should have enough to at least claim a Rax.
Yeah, you've got enough damage even just from the Void to get that done, and you're stuck in a very bad position here for Orca. No buyback on the Luna. They do have the Kisses. They can try to force Kish away. Does not have anything to protect like an Aegis, so it is a risk, but it should allow them to reset. Creep Wave still coming back in. They didn't manage to use that to clear Creep Wave out. So again, YG still has an angle to play with here, and I don't think Kish is going to be dissuaded at all.
Still late, trying to get in. Spear, not going to be on the mark either. Orca doing a pretty darn great job of just continuously delaying this Rax being taken. So much so that now the Ogre is back up, but again, problem is he is still disconnected. So you've got Bloodlust, but that's about all you're going to get out of this. 10 seconds about just to get that Luna back up. Still chipping away at the Void and actually not allowing him to finish off that melee barracks. They've got it back. So as a big of an advantage YG has, it's still not enough to push a Rax in from Orca. And now VT Faded, he's back. I suppose you could look for another dieback on the Luna, but he's really only 500 gold away from having the buyback gold anyway.
It's not too far off there for VT Faded. At the least for YG, they've got the respawn out on Young PH. So he can join up. He is looking to shove the top wave first. Nowhere near his team. TP still 20 seconds away on the travels. So there's a bit of a window here for Orca to kind of look for an opportunity. They still have Eclipse ready to go. They have some decent damage if they can just focus in on a hero. And YG needs to respect that. We've been seeing decent Chronos out from Kish. I think it's time we start expecting a bit more out of those Chronos. He needs to be able to pin down multiple heroes to prevent the Lina from really dying here. It feels like that should be his job. He has managed to eclipse our Lina in farm. Kish is ahead of Young PH right now. It just feels like that damage is much better on the Lina regardless.
It's big smoke out, but they haven't really... Oh, never mind. They see Young PH mid. He's just got that Chrono you talked about, but they're going to try and blow him up. The Ravage, it lands on 3 heroes. They've already got the Lina down as Kish is looking for a Chrono opportunity, but the Eclipse is out. BT Faded, he's just ignoring the Void for now. As AT, he's going to try and help. They might just have the Luna, but you do have buyback on BT if he needs to. So far, it's actually not too bad of a team fight, as they even found skill lane. GY, though, don't tell me GY is disconnected. He's going to go for a bit of a back off now, as Kish does need to be a little bit wary of how far he goes. It's a 2v3, and his Mars is not around, but he has the Chrono into the Aeon Disc, though. The puck will survive a little bit longer. In fact, long enough to get outside of the Chrono, and yep, he'll survive with the Ghost Scepter. Back into the Scatter Blast, but Kish is able to get the kill with, I believe, the Mjolnir proc. The Citrus? No, he's gone back in too far. He'll be punished to boot. And they call the GG, they've had enough. Game over. Game 2 to go the way of YG. And now you've got to ask the question, John, is Menu Ping going to be able to reconnect to the next lobby?
I'd hope so. I think there's enough time. You know, we have a 10-minute leeway between games, so there's enough time there for Minyo Ping to get back in and hopefully sort that VPN issue out. But props to YG. You know, mentioned it early in draft, not a big fan of Void, but they had a perfect lineup for it, Mike. They had all the circles here for YG. Arena, Static Storm, Kinetic Field, Chrono, LSA.
You're
gonna
gonna
really good mid matchup for Young PH. Yeah.
You're gonna tell me your circle analysis is right. I mean, it's literally a 4v5, and you're still out here telling me it was all about circles.
Yeah, I would say so. I think the fights building up to that 4v5 were built off those great circles, and Young PH had a really great lead in the game. So I think for Team Orca going forward, we've got to be careful about allowing that sort of enabling pause one that lets Young PH just be the big hero. Kish just taking the back seat, setting Kronos up to ensure he gets the kills, and just kind of built off from there.
Thank you for your analysis on a 4v5 game, Jonathan. We do appreciate it, as we are going to head to a very short break, and after that 10-minute break, we'll hopefully be back with game number 3 between YG and Team Orca.